What I'm really interested in is like the nexus of people who hate women really crosses over kind of perfectly on the women who do comedy and women who do music.
Mm-hmm. Oh my
and
God,
so you
yeah,
kind of would activate every male hater like in the United States.
Like male hater activated.
Yeah,
that sounds sick.
500 is not a huge bar to clear on the internet. You guys might be able to make that on Instagram now.
I need someone to spell that out for me and how to make that happen.
That's part of why this podcast exists. It's literally like, how many followers do you guys have on Instagram?
What is up, everybody? I'm Keaton.
I'm Pete.
And we are the podcast Glass Slipping. And today is a very special day because we have our inaugural guest, my beautiful best friend and my BP, my business partner, Dani Nigro.
Woo!
Dani is in the band Daisy Grenade with me. They love her, and we think that she is a perfect little guest for this
Who
podcast.
loves me?
Me. I do.
The royal bay.
Yeah, you said they love her. I was like, they do?
Oh,
they really
did
do?
I say that? They do.
They
well,
love me.
everybody loves her. But yeah, we're gonna get into it today. So thank you so much for being here, Dan.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I'm stoked.
Hell yeah.
Do you have anything you want to say about yourself?
What's your age and your sign?
5'4", Capricorn. No, I'm happy to be here. I've recently found out that my catchphrase is "That's beautiful." Someone
That's
asked
awesome.
me recently what my catchphrase was, and
That's
I had a really
beautiful.
hard time thinking about it. And I was like, "That's beautiful." Welcome to the podcast. You're listening to the podcast. You guys could use that. I'm selling it to you.
Okay, cool. For
free.
$100,000.
That'll come in right after the intro. It'll just be a consistent.
That's for you to use in perpetuity.
Okay, we have that on camera, so
That's
you
beautiful.
can't come back asking for royalties. I'm sorry.
I know what I said. I don't go back on my word.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Doing good. I don't think I've actually seen you since you got back from tour.
No,
have I?
not
So
at all.
how are you doing? How is the, I've talked to Keaton about what the come down process was for her like that, but how is that like readjusting to normal New York life and then also like right in the middle of that performing at Madison Square Garden?
It sucks, and it's also beautiful.
We're like so different in the way. I think I talked about this on the last episode too. Like we're just so different in the way. Like if I could be out on tour like every week of the year, I would. And she's like,
So
get me
crazy
the
to
fuck
me.
home immediately.
Well, also I think something that probably helps in that, even if it is stress inducing in certain ways, is at least like your partner's out, has been out on tour
Right,
with you
well,
the
he's
last couple
out,
times,
yeah.
and like Aiden is still here.
Aiden and my child's dog.
Oh yes, true.
Yeah, having a dog changes things a lot.
It's sad. I love being on tour, but it's sad, man. After a few weeks, I'm like,
And it also makes
What
it
the
more
hell?
difficult for Aiden to come out because he can't just like leave the dog. Yeah.
no. And she's my baby. But it's been good. I like being home. I like having my routine. I am a homebody, and I like going to my job in some capacity.
And so what type of routine do you have when you're at home? Like how does that differ from, because obviously on tour you're on the road all the time. You have to like
Yeah.
settle into like, okay, here's my routine for X city and we're moving on to the next thing. How does that change when you are in one consistent place?
When I'm home, it gets to be like my morning routine of I wake up, I me and Lola like do our little wake up thing. I make my coffee. There's just like an order of things. I'm a very like this is the order of my day. These are the list of things I have to do and the order that they're going to happen in. And like I have my morning routine. I have my bedtime routine with my skincare that I kind of do. I'm trying to add more ritual into my life, and being home allows me to do that a bit more than when we're on the road.
Right.
And then when we're on the road, I try to do it in small increments, but it's not the same. It's not my house. It's not my space. It's
You
not
also just
my-
like don't know where you're sleeping that night. And like you don't know like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like hard to like get into it.
And also you have to play an arena, so it kind of like throws.
It just throws your like body.
everything off.
Yeah.
It's kind of everything's out the window.
Yeah.
But it's been okay.
Reestablishing some sense of normalcy.
Cooking
That's huge for me
meals
too.
is so that's when I feel like I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, we're back. I'm back. I'm in my kitchen. I can
When I
cook,
have like
can
my
clean.
like when I do my grocery order when I get
Absolutely.
back, it's like, whew.
Absolutely. Yeah, cooking. As much as I hate it going to work, I feel like it feels productive in some capacity.
I get that kind of like I worked 30 hours in 3 days last week.
Right? Did you feel like you did something? You were like,
Well,
I
I
did
just
something.
like I had more of like a like I have to go home, I have to go to bed because I have to get up tomorrow and do the same thing.
Yep.
And even though it's like fucking soul sucking.
Yeah.
It's like, there is a bit of like, okay, like I got something done today.
No, I understand that.
You know what I
like
mean?
scratches an itch. There's
Right.
people say there's dignity in work, and like I get that to a certain degree, and can be a little weird of a platitude.
Check
but,
off ass.
but even just having a place to be and it being scheduled out, getting the money reward on the other side.
Yeah, I like almost like, because I make so little money in my job, I almost sometimes forget that I'm getting paid to do it, and that's why I'm doing it. I've also worked at my job for so long that like
It's volunteer work.
I call it volunteering to make myself go. But like I don't usually work that much that often. I mean, like I can't really get as many hours as I would like because I'm gone so much, which is obviously a blessing. But like when I like someone was gone this week, so I filled in and I worked like open to close 3 days in a row. And it was just like, it was so long. And just like being on your feet for that long is like exhausting and whatever.
Yeah, you have it a little different. I sit.
You have a desk job.
I sit.
Yeah, she sits.
I sit.
Well, and I don't mind it because like when I'm up and moving, like it's not that, like when I get into the routine of it, it's like not that big of a deal. But I do feel like at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, okay, I did something. And then I see the paycheck hit and I'm like, wow, that's not enough for what I did.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, it's still something.
Yeah.
And when I come back, I'm so used to not getting regular paychecks that when they hit, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's why I'm doing that. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh yeah, oh shit.
Yeah. I think going to the job helps the come down for me, just because it's like I don't care what you're feeling, you have to go to work tomorrow.
So you're in office?
Yes, I'm in office. Work 3 days a week.
Okay.
If I work on the weekend, I get to work from home. But
Okay.
if my schedule is different every week.
That's also really hard. Is my schedule is exactly the same every week, and her schedule completely
schedule is
differs,
different
and she doesn't know kind of like
single
when she's going to work the next day or the next week.
which is beautiful because then I
So you can request stuff off.
time to
Yeah.
request things
Be
off, do
flexible.
things, have other stuff come up, which is necessary for the band. But it does, as someone who likes routine, it does throw a wrench into
Throws
things.
off. Yeah, it's nice that I'm like, oh, I can do something. I'm free during the week no matter what. Like I work the weekends, which sucks in some ways, but also I'm kind of like,
Whatever.
no one I know has like a regular.
What does that
9 to
even
5
mean?
Right,
The
like-
weekend.
Yeah, right. It's like no one I know like actually works like regular
It's
like
just
9
a
to 5,
day.
like Monday through Friday hours. So it like doesn't actually make a difference in my life.
I will never forget, like maybe a year and a half ago when I was still working in a restaurant, I was talking to one of the bartenders and he was probably like in his mid 30s. He was like paying off a place in Queens. He like was really like just grinding through life though. And I was like,
Grinding through life.
I was like, it was Saturday night or Sunday night. And I was like, oh, I'm really excited. I have like tomorrow off. And he kind of looked at me and he was like, oh, I wish I was still at the age where I took days off. And I was
Oh
like,
my God, no, sit, brother.
You said how old?
anyway.
Anyway, back to our interview with our friend.
I don't know. I think we could
What
take
did
a
you
hard
ask
left turn.
me? Yeah.
And I want to
Cut
start
that all
talking
out.
about
I'm just kidding.
the band that is Daisy Grenade,
I do not know them.
formerly known as Make Your Son Famous.
Dude.
I know. Rest in
RIP.
peace, dude.
And I want to just kind of talk about how that came to be, how you guys met and in turn decided to be like the front facing part of a band, like building it into a band. Because the first show I can remember you guys doing was just the two of you in Williams or Bushwick.
Queens, I
maybe?
think.
It was Queens.
Queens.
Did you come to that one?
QED.
No, I couldn't make it. Kara went though.
Kara
and,
went though, yeah.
It was at QED.
And
Astoria, shout
it was
out.
just the two of you. How did you go from like how did you get to that point where it was just the two of us are doing a set and we're going to be a band into it actually becoming a band?
We'd written a single song.
Yeah, you kind of wrote a single song.
We wrote a single song.
But even before you wrote the song, how did you decide like it was you two doing the song?
We were friends. We met and we became beautiful friends. I'm trying to like tell this in a way that hasn't been told a million times, you know? Trying to give you a little extra flair. We were, you know exactly what we were doing. We were doing American Idiot, goddammit. And we met and we were like, oh, we sound good together. And then we were like, also like, you're cool. Let's be friends. And then
It was like the pandemic.
happened. Yeah. So we were both falling out of love with the theater that
Also,
we've
just
been doing
not having
forever.
any opportunity was a huge part of it as well. Just kind of being bored as fuck.
Yeah, we
mostly.
were bored as fuck, and also like having time away from theater being, I think, both of us were having the same experience of being like taking a step back, being like, there's a lot
There's a lot
of issue here
going on here.
that I'm not vibing with. And we talked a lot of our first conversations with each other, just becoming friends, was talking about music and talking about our similar interests and stuff like that. And then we realized we had like this huge overlap in like the pop punk ish world, which I think honestly a lot of that probably came up because the show was American Idiot and that was like a relevant thing. And then we literally were just like, we should sing together. I remember we did that Creep cover and I had newly been learning how to play the acoustic guitar and was trying to accompany us. And then we were like, oh shit, we sound good together. I don't really remember how writing became a thing. I don't really remember where that came from. I had just gotten a new acoustic, like a new actual guitar, because I had like a shitty like $100 piece of shit guitar.
And then George, your fiance's dad, gave you that vintage telly to play.
Yes, to play around with because I was learning guitar. And then I was like, oh, power chords.
Yeah. Then she learned how to play power chords and thought, this is easy.
Perhaps I should write a tune. It said, this is easier than everything else. And then I just started writing some shit and like bouncing it back and forth between the two of us. And we were like, oh, this kind of sounds good. It moved so fast. And then Dave asked us, that was your connect. I did not know any of those
Dave,
people.
like just from like, I think probably through Taylor, like ultimately.
Yeah.
I knew Dave just like kind
Dave
of from like
Dave's
this
lesbian bar. Shout out.
music like community in Brooklyn kinda that James was also kind of a part of.
Yeah, because you had the friend group that was involved in. I have no like music friends. Like my friends do music, but not in the same way that group of people was. It does do music and actively writes music and performs music locally and things like that. I was kind of not a part of that scene whatsoever. So you were my introduction to that. And yeah, Dave asked us to do that live stream.
And I think we did the
Wasn't that first? We sat in this room, this here little room. Do you remember?
Was
Oh my
that still like
God.
Zoom concerts? Like that era
Is that
of
what
the
was
pandemic?
that first? Oh my God, you're right. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, it was post because we started hanging out like summer of
2020, I think.
2020 when like that was okay again. But we didn't start.
We were experiencing a shooting together.
Oh, you were there?
Oh my God, yeah, she was there. It was the four of us
Whoa.
Oh, I was there.
at a bar in here, Irv's, which ceases to exist. Kind of probably thank God for the best. But
after that
R.I.P.
night. After that night. But because we started hanging out in like summer of 2020, and then like the music thing didn't happen until like spring of 2021. Like early
in
2021.
full. I mean, we kind of been talking about it and kind of just been like shitting around for a little bit. I also don't think either of us really had the thought that it would ever like be anything.
No.
I think we were just kind of like, this will be fun.
Fun
to do.
hobby, like a hobby, a new thing to explore.
Yeah, and also
Do you remember when it shifted in that way? Because when did the idea actually get implanted for either of you that it was like, oh, this is a real thing we're doing?
I think when people just kind of started to really respond to it when we would play live, like I think it was just like all of a sudden we were kind of like, oh, like people really like this, and it felt sort of different than like, I don't know, like people were really interested in seeing us live, which was like, I don't know, I think just kind of shocking to both of us. We're like, okay.
It was like even that first like Instagram live we played Undone.
I completely forgot that even happened.
Just in this little room. I remember Aiden was here and James, they were both sitting out here just like, woohoo. And I was so nervous.
Supportive boyfriends.
I want to get them t-shirts that say I heart my feral wife.
Yeah, I think
for them to wear.
But I was just like, okay, here we go. And like we did it. And the response was so positive. And it was like a song that we had written
in this living room.
And like, never like performed for everyone. And we were like, oh, like people like it. And I think that was like where something switched in my brain. Like having people be like, that's a good song and I enjoy listening to it. I was like,
what do you guys have out? Like where can I hear
wrote?
you more?
It's crazy.
We did like covers and stuff too. I think that first show we played Undone, and then we played a cover of a Samia cover, Someone Tell the Boys.
Oh,
and then
for the
played
love of God. We restarted that song. That was funny. We remember when we had to restart it. I literally was just playing.
Nothing correctly.
I got up
I didn't
there,
even remember. I was so nervous.
shitting my pants. I should never have been playing the guitar in front of people at that
You
point.
did great.
I can do it now, but I could not have done it then. But I'm glad I did because here we are. But I like went up there and it was just like I looked at the neck of the guitar and I was like, Not a single.
I
Not a
don't
single
know
one.
where my
Not a
fingers are
single-
supposed to
Not a
go.
thought in my head
Not
right
a-
now.
Not a thought in my head.
my
You're just
head.
like,
And we
it's an
started
interesting
playing
piece of
it.
wood.
Yeah. Started playing it wrong key, wrong chords, and I was like, no, I need to start over now. Which is an echo of my current stage banter, honestly. It's like,
I have to-
no, I'm gonna
Has the
start
type
over
5 developed
now.
at all?
No, but I'm thinking more and more about it. I really
Okay,
am.
but for context, for basically the entirety of the time that you guys have existed as a band, for the audience watching, Dani's been talking about her type 5. Which
like every time we have like a moment, she's like, and now is when I'm going to do my type 5 of comedy.
and a type 5
think it's the
is
headliner.
like a stand-up
my God,
comedy
yeah.
idea of 5 like tight minutes you can get up on stage for an open mic or for an opener or anything else. And I'm ready for the type 5.
I think it's our headliner. When that happens, if
Danny's
that
going to open
happens,
for us. She's going to be the first of 3.
I'm gonna do 5. I'm gonna do 5
come
minutes.
out and do 5 minutes.
stand-up comedy
You're gonna
that
have your
nobody
direct
asked.
support, and then you're gonna come out in between. You can just be like an MC and a host, and everyone will be confused. It'll be like 6:30 p.m.
I'll
and
just
everyone's
wear,
like,
I'll
"Is
just
that
wear,
the
I just did a
headliner?"
crazy thing that I need to flag because everyone's going to see it. Your bang got in your face and I moved my head.
I wish you moved it. Could you imagine?
I literally like
full carry mode. You just
you literally like your one of your bangs got in your face and I went like this. It's so crazy.
That's beautiful. That's being one.
That's
We are
being
one.
connected.
But no, I will open the set with comedy
At some point.
at some point. But yes, we did that, and then we survived. I played some kind of chord. We started the song over, survived, and then some guy looked at me and went, "Keep it up. You're
That's
doing it." And I
awesome.
was
Some
"Thank
random
you."
guy?
It was like the sound guy, I think, because he saw I
Okay.
was freaking out.
And was
like,
this
"You're
at
gonna be good."
one of
this
the
is
Dave
at
shows,
QED.
or-
No, this is at QED.
Okay,
So this is
I think it
very,
was
very first
technically.
show.
I think it was technically a Dave's, but it was like way pre like
Yes, it was a
Dave's.
before they were doing
fundraiser.
the
It was a
full,
fundraiser, I
before
think,
they were
for
doing the
the
full block
Open Streets
parties and
thing. Yeah.
everything.
And then I remember Carson just kind of being like, our buddy Carson, who's one of James's best friends and in turn one of my best friends, was just kind of like, there's something really, really, really cool here. I don't know what it is, but I have like a really, and he's been doing music for a very long time. And he was like, I think this is going to really be something. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of I think why it happened besides like our work is like the people around us being extremely supportive and being like there's something here and seeing something that maybe internally, at least on my end, I was like, I don't know, yeah, cool, like this is cool and fun, but I wasn't seeing that there was something that other people were seeing that was very important for us to hear to make us want to keep doing it.
I think also just based on, I know a lot of people doing the music thing in New York, but something that is pretty atypical of the first time or the first couple times you're doing shows, it felt like the live element was there pretty quickly in a way that some of my friends like are really talented musicians or really talented artists and are putting together a band on the fly or putting together a band for a night, and the live element isn't necessarily like, it takes a couple shows, it takes a couple weeks, it takes in the same way that a comedian might need to get on stage 10, 15, 20 times to
before it
refine
gets
the
tight,
set.
yeah.
And
But
boy,
it
will
felt
I.
like even, I remember, whatever Heaven Can Wait is called now, but that
Coney
space.
Island Baby,
Is it-
Lola, Heaven Can Wait, East
Berlin.
Berlin.
Yeah. Whatever it was called at the time. I remember I had seen you guys live a couple times at that point, but it was one of the early shows you played as a full band. And
I
Andy
like
came-
remember what you're talking about. I played the cowbell.
Well, and Andy came for the first time and saw you guys live for the first time, and he just was like, "What the fuck?" Like, well, because all of a huge part of our friend group was doing music, and it just felt like 60% of the pieces are working, or 40% of the pieces are working, or like, oh, the central piece is really good, but it's still figuring out its identity. And for you guys, it just felt like it clicked.
I feel like part of that also, thank you. Yeah. Part of it also is the fact that we've had basically the same band with a few changes, but like minor, one person subbing out or whatever. We've had pretty much the same band from the jump. Pete, our drummer, has been with us from the very first show we ever played. Adrian has been with us from the second show we ever played. And we've had the cursed spot of guitarists switch out a
Rotating
couple of
guitarist.
times. Yeah, rotating guitarists. I think that's pretty typical though. Guitarists are hard. But I think part of that is, and also Dani and I just like, we've been performing our whole lives, so it's like doesn't feel like it's that big of a shift. But also like I will say like we worked and continue to work our asses off on the live element specifically. Like we rehearse a shitload, and we always have rehearsed the biggest thing, we have amazing musicians, first of all the boys in the band are fucking
But even
incredible.
getting that much rehearsal time is atypical in New York, I feel like, because
think we
of
just
how much
are-
studio time costs, how much time it takes to refine something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we have amazing musicians. And I think the biggest thing about the live band, and has always been the case, and we continue to try to do as much as we can. You know, now there's like so much bullshit involved where it's like tracks and ears and blah, 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 all the bullshit. But like what we do even now is like we get in a room, just the 5 of us, and we rehearse and we just fucking listen to each other, which I think is genuinely atypical. Like I think it's something that like, because you have so much support out there, it doesn't feel like that's the thing that you really need to focus on, like listening to each other and really like playing the music together and workshopping the music together. But it's something that we've always like really, really hit hard.
I think we started getting response from like you said, like it was the live show. It wasn't that we didn't have like this library of this catalog of music out. We didn't have like all these songs that people, that's not like the
draw
was
wasn't-
coming from the live show, like, because that's all we were doing.
which happened for a long time. I think didn't we play 60 shows in a year?
We did something.
Yeah, like something crazy. Like
stupid.
That's crazy.
we just kept,
We did something.
just-
so over a show a week.
yeah,
Yeah,
at one
there
point we
was-
were probably playing twice a week in like clubs in New York. Like where we were just doing it a million times. And not all of them hit, you know what I mean? Like I think they were all fine, but like, you know, we had like a couple like bowling alleys where we were playing to like 3 people or whatever. And like we
it's 'cause
still
we
just
love
like
it.
what'd you say?
It's because we love it.
Yeah, it's love of the game type shit for real. Still is. But like, you know, it's like, yeah, obviously the more you get out there, but also like I said, we just worked our asses off and we had a lot of reinforcement, which I think is what Danny's getting at, where it's
Yeah.
just like we had a lot of reason to keep trying.
Well, and speaking of reinforcement, when did the like label conversation, even like Hannah coming in,
Super early.
yeah, how did that happen?
We basically like posted Undone, the first song that Danny kind of wrote. The song, we came over, we like workshopped it. I like wrote some of the lyrics in the bridge and we posted it on Instagram. We had like 40 followers probably. And I went to high school with Hannah. So she followed me and it must have just come up on her Explore page because she follows me. And she was like, I really like this. Like, I think you guys have something. I work with some music people. Would you want to take a meeting? And we were like, okay. We had literally no idea what we were doing.
And at the time, Hannah came on kind of in a management role.
Not even yet. I mean, that happened, I think, like a lot later because we just needed help. Like we
And
just
now she is creative director. Like
now
how
she's creative director. Yeah, she's like signed on as creative director.
she's been pretty central the whole time. It's
Oh
just
my
like
god,
the
yeah, we
role
would be
itself shifts.
fucking nowhere without Hannah.
Absolutely.
And she had worked with Pete on a TV show that she wrote where he music supervised for her. And she just Hannah loves music. She does. She like, she's just like a huge music fan and just like really like loves it and wanted to be involved in some way. And I think Danny and I weirdly kind of weren't so tuned into the like pop punk revival that was happening in like 2020, 2021, but happened to just kind of hit it.
Yeah, that was
exactly
like
right.
A complete
Timing meets
accident.
opportunity.
Yeah, but it was like we weren't doing it because we thought that it would hit. We were doing it because we felt like that was the way that
Well, and you liked it.
we liked it,
that
and
was
we found so much ease writing in that style, which we hadn't really before.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, we grew up listening to it, obviously, but like, and I've always loved it, and I've always felt very connected to it, but I never had really tried writing my own music like that. So it just kind of hit, but then it's just like the timing just like worked out so perfectly. But I will say like that conversation started in like 2021. We didn't sign a deal until 2023. So,
Yeah,
and we had we had like obviously like moral support, and Pete gave us Baby Blackout. That was 2022, I think.
Yes,
But we weren't signed until 2023. We had no like financial help. We had no sort of like we still barely have financial help. But like we had no sort of like they gave us like some opportunities, like Alex Suarez, who produced our first EP. They set us up with here because they knew him. And there's like not, to be honest, like there's not a lot of like recorded music that's happening out of New York. Like there like a lot of producers that have like big pub deals and stuff don't come out here because
Well,
there's
it's probably much more based.
It's LA, yeah.
or like even Atlanta. Like there's
Nashville even, yeah. Like it's just like the live scene here is so cool. We were just talking about this with Bree, who's from LA. The live scene here is so different than LA because like everyone's playing all the time.
Well, you can do live shows.
Yeah. And also people come out to them, you know, because they're like in big bars on the Lower East Side where people are
and
going to be
you
no
have
matter what.
Transport to it. You don't have to drive. You don't have to
Right.
deal
It's
with
like,
like
yeah.
all of the bullshit that
Yeah.
you have to deal with in LA. I was talking to someone about this because it's kind of similar on a comedy level where it's like if you're doing a comedy set in LA, you're doing like one set at one location at 9:15. You want people to turn out, but like there's comics in New York who will do 4 sets in a night because they're hopping from club to
gonna be
club,
me.
taking the subway, whatever.
It's gonna be me.
That's her next
Here we
entry.
go. Yeah, just the.
Nobody wants to hear my stand up. It's not gonna
I
be
want
good.
to hear your stand.
We find out that Danny's like doing like full blown improv classes at
As
UCB
someone
next
like
week.
just
She's
a
like, I'm really
lover
that's my
of
worst.
I'm taking this
comedy,
seriously.
I really want to hear the set.
That's my worst nightmare, by the way. It's like improv.
You're gonna just make yourself laugh. I know you.
I
You're gonna
do
get up
think-
there
I
and she's
do
gonna do a
think
joke that
some
she thinks
nexus
is
of the
funny, and she's
internet-
gonna be cracking
I think
herself
I
up
have
for
just
5
my
straight
sense
minutes.
of
What I'm
humor.
really interested in is like the nexus of people who hate women really crosses over kind of perfectly on the women who do comedy and women who do music.
Oh my
And
god,
so you
yeah, you're
kind of
gonna
would
get a lot of
activate every male hater like in the
all their
United
brains.
States.
like, male hater activated.
Yeah.
yeah,
That sounds sick.
that sounds awesome.
It's very punk.
I think I'll hear a lot of really good things. I'll hear a lot about how much everyone loves me and thinks I'm cool because I'm a woman. And how
hot girls can be funny and make music.
and I think everyone will support me
Yeah,
The people who love you.
and I will
support
get no negative feedback.
you. None. Speaking of negative feedback,
shouldn't.
I do want to actually kind of talk about this because we've talked about it a decent amount already. How has, as you guys have grown and gotten more attention on the internet, how is dealing with the like just general feedback of like the obviously there's been a lot of like positive like love, and we talked a lot about 99% of it is positive, but Keaton tends to focus in on a lot of the negative.
okay. Drag
How
me.
do you
I'm just kidding. Peter just sat with me on this couch until like 3 o'clock in the morning. We're like crying about something. He's like, "It's gonna be okay. It doesn't matter."
was like, so in terms of how have you dealt with that thus far? Do you feel like you've been able to deal with it? You feel like you've noticed it, or
I've been off Instagram for a month.
okay? And how is that?
It's fucking great, man.
That's amazing.
I don't want to go back, but I have to, and that is the issue right there. I feel I have a pretty strong grasp on not reading the comments. Of course, every once in a while, something will show itself to me that I didn't ask to see.
Got it.
And then it's, if I feel it's actually bothering me, maybe I'll take it to Keat. Maybe I'll take it to my therapist. But for the most part, I don't read anything. I don't look us up online. I never Google us. I do not have access to our Twitter. I have no idea what's going on the Twitter.
That's like really where it gets really bad.
Twitter is
most of it.
100%
Well, Twitter is
Keaton.
a cesspool.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
fucking cesspool.
And I thank ye and I bless ye for
handling that.
for handling that
It's
because
hard
I
'cause
don't even want to know.
I was just talking to somebody just the other day, another female artist, and she was like, I think I want to delete Twitter. And I was like, you should. I was like, we have Twitter for me because it's what I like grew up using. I feel like I know how to garner a following and a reaction from people really well. And I think I have done that pretty successfully. Like we started the Twitter like a year ago and we have like 3,500 followers because I've just like literally I've known exactly what to say to get people interested.
Yeah, you're very good at it.
Because I am on Twitter. And like I said, I just grew up on it, know how to use it. You know what I mean? Whereas like,
See, that's the thing. I was never on Twitter.
yeah, I was like a Twitter
had
girl.
a personal one like maybe early college for like a couple months, and I was like, I don't get this. I'm out of here. And I
Right.
so I
It's
don't
like something,
get it.
it's something that I like know how to use. So
Yeah.
this is what I was telling her was, I was like, she has a little bit of a smaller following on Twitter specifically, but she was like, I just like feel like it's only bad. And I was like, it mostly is. I was like, if you know how to use it, that's the reason I don't delete it, is because I feel like I'm pretty good at like roping in the people that I want to rope in. Specifically on like the water parks tour. I was like, I know exactly, because those fans are fucking cuckoo. They are so dedicated to those boys. But like, if you know how to kind of like steal those people, they will fucking stand you for life.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know how to do that. So I'm going to do that. And I know where it's going to happen. It's going to happen on Twitter. So it's like, that's why I don't delete it, because it is 90% bullshit and a complete fucking cesspool. But like, because people just feel so emboldened. And I get that. I used to feel that way on Twitter. I was like, no one's seeing this. That's not true, girl.
It's not true.
Yeah.
Especially if you tag someone in something.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're
The,
gonna
the
see
tagging is crazy. But to her, I was like, yeah, delete it. Like it's not. It doesn't need. You don't need to be seeing the shit that people say about you, because it's so easy to see. Shit just comes up on your timeline, especially if it's like especially like the new model of Twitter where it's like the For You page where it's like not just people you follow. It's just subjects that you're.
Okay, see, I don't
wanna
engage in the For You page at all now. Like in the new Twitter, I'm just on the following tab.
Yeah.
Like
I don't
unless
really
I'm like
follow that
looking up
many
a
people on
trending
Twitter.
topic or anything, because the For You page is truly, we talked about this last week too, of because now you can make money on Twitter, like it is just
didn't
lowest
realize that.
common denominator.
Yeah, so like
bullshit.
Twitter Blue is not just like you can monetize your tweets if you get Twitter Blue.
You
so if
can
you
monetize
pay,
Still X.
impressions.
Is it still
Yeah.
called X?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
it's Twitter.
I just
will never
rolled
not
my
be Twitter.
eyes for all of you listening at home.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do basically
Hi.
total disengagement.
Yeah, I do, and
Good.
it works. For
Yeah,
me.
no, I understand. I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah. Every once in a while, on TikTok's overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
I've found as a place. In general, obviously there's nightmares everywhere, but like,
But it's like mostly young people, so they're not so
Yeah.
in the same vibe as like millennials and Gen X who like just want to rip you apart for no reason.
TikTok also has what Twitter used to have in that the best comments will rise
To the top. Yeah, that's so
and
true.
and like that has died with Twitter with the new engagement model, but
Same with Instagram, I think, where it's like the negative algorithm is the thing that's like getting people to come back. And also like they'll flag, like Instagram can like flag comments on its own. Like the algorithm. If,
well,
like,
if you delete something on Instagram, it will literally ask you the question. It'll be like, I noticed you've deleted 3 comments with the word women in it. Will you like, do you not want to see comments that say women
Right,
anymore?
but also
Or
like,
whatever.
but also like
so
sometimes they'll
insane.
flag something nice and they won't flag the one that's like kill yourself, you stupid bitch, and you're like, what?
Wait.
Someone being like, you guys killed this or whatever is like hidden from Instagram,
Yeah,
but they
you-
won't flag the ones that are like fuck you.
You can fine tune it with, I at least know for the brand account that I run, I have basically
I have
trained
certain
the
words
thing,
flagged.
and there are certain words you can put
on,
into hidden
on
words.
TikTok too.
And once you've trained it a little bit, it'll do it for you. But yeah, it can be a little weird.
Sometimes I'm
and
like,
finicky.
why do you hide that? Someone's
I know
threatening to
it'll-
kill me.
on TikTok. It'll be like, do you want to approve this? Like you have hidden comments and it's like, you were so great and you're so beautiful. And I'm like, TikTok,
why did you
let
flag
me
this?
see
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
I
yeah.
need to see this. No, but I disengage. And I love to live. I am so grateful for all of the people who do support us and comment on things and like things and like share videos. And I do see them when I do see them. I am so fulfilled and grateful, but I do for my mental health have to remove myself. And we're not even there yet, man.
Well, you're at the tip of the iceberg. Yeah.
So I only know it's going to get crazier. So I'm trying to set a model for myself now.
No, it's an
so when
important
we do
habit to
get
kind of set up, too.
thrown into the true thick of it. But yeah, just before we get really thrown into all of it, I'm trying to create good habits for myself.
Yeah.
So I don't completely dissolve.
Don't completely lose my mind. Yeah, I'm just more like I will like be upset about it for like fucking 20 minutes and then or an hour or whatever, and then I'm like pretty able to get over it. And I still see shit that like it just depends on the comment. Like sometimes I see shit that's so fucking mean and it doesn't bother me, and then other times I'm like, oh, that really hurt my
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's when they secretly somehow get your personal little
Yeah, where you're like,
triggers
oh,
that-
I'm actually really insecure about that.
That's the thing I care about. Why would you do that?
Yeah, why would you say that to me? But yeah, it's hard. It's like a yeah. I don't think anyone really knows how to deal with it. I think if they say that they do, they're lying.
Humans are not
unnatural.
designed to take in this much information, though. Either.
Yeah.
Like, there's been no time in history where 100,000 people could see something you wrote within 30 minutes of you writing it.
Yeah.
Like it, and that in itself just leads to so much overwhelming information for the brain. Like anytime you have a video that's going to get 1 million views or 1 million likes, so it's 7 to 10, 15 million views.
It's like not right.
No, yeah, it is.
That's not sick and twisted.
It's sick
Yeah,
and twisted.
it is sick and
not right.
twisted.
It's not right. It shouldn't happen.
We had a single day on the last tour, beautiful, beautiful day off in Palm Springs. And I was in my bathing suit. The sun was shining. I was feet in the grass, hand reaching, picked a literal orange off of a fucking tree while the sun was shining on me. And I stopped and said, we've gone too far. This is all that it is. I'm supposed to have my feet in the grass.
How much weed were you smoking that day?
None. I don't do
Really?
that.
No, never.
Orange off the tree. And I was like, my God, we've gone too far. But do you understand? Like, I was just like, that's just, but do you understand?
Like 70%, yes, I'm with you.
Just kind of like, oh, I'm supposed to just be eating fruit off of a tree in the grass. I'm not supposed to be reading comments
telling me to kill myself.
telling me to kill myself.
Yeah, no. I talked about an artist who you'll know who I'm talking about when I say this. I did not say the name of this artist.
Drop
but
the name, drop the name, drop the
no,
name.
I can't drop the name. But
I'm going to be a
Say
nightmare.
the
I'm sorry.
name.
Say it.
No.
I can't.
Say
I really
it.
can't.
Say
But
it.
I respect him so much because of the bullshit that he gets on the internet. You know who I'm talking about.
Love. Love.
And it's like, I may not be like necessarily a fan of the music, but the fact that he continues on
Absolutely.
in the face of what he sees on the internet every day, and maybe he doesn't see it, maybe he has somebody else doing it. For his sake, I hope to God that he does, because of the hate. And there are a million artists like this, but I'm thinking specifically of one where I'm just like, you can only respect that. You can only respect that kind of just fucking irreverence to the bullshit. Like it's so hard to not get sucked into that. And like I said, and even with us where it's like overwhelmingly positive for the most part, I just can't even imagine we're the other way around, which for some people it is, you know, like for some people it is the other way around where it's like 90% bullshit. Mm-hmm. And you have to just like have some sort of like, those are the people I want to talk to. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, how do you do this? Like, cause I'm like, when this other artist was texting me the other day, I was like, I don't know. She was like, how do you deal with this? And I was like, I don't have an answer for you. I was like, I can do like little things here and there, but like, I'm not going to have like some fucking profound answer to this. Like, I don't know. And that has also been everyone else who I've spoken to, their answer as well. I don't think anybody fucking knows how to deal with it. And then when you're so famous that you can just hand it off to somebody else and be like, you deal with this, and just be like,
wealthy.
Or wealthy, yeah. Famous or wealthy. Usually those two go hand in hand. But it's like, but you know what I mean? Like, you can really hand it off, and you can afford at a certain level of fame or a certain level of wealth or whatever to not engage on the internet in the same way, you know, whereas like someone who's coming up doesn't necessarily have that luxury on a financial level, but also just on like an engagement level where it's like, if you stop posting, you're fucked. Yeah. Where it's like, if Pete Wentz doesn't post for 6 months, like everybody still knows who Pete Wentz is after 6 months. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, we stop posting, I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot about those girls. You know what I mean? So it's like,
I'm coming back to Instagram on Friday. I'm doing a full 4 weeks and then I'm coming back.
For you.
Place where most negative energy around social media exists.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's so interesting to me.
I do a lot of self-comparison and a lot of...
Understood.
Yeah, you have an interesting thing that I don't necessarily align with, and I have my own other shit, but like where you
have no shit.
I have no shit.
We're perfect.
We're perfect. But no, like you've talked to me a little bit, and you don't have to talk about this if you don't want to, but you've talked to me a little bit about how you compare yourself to like influencers who have like what seemingly like their life is like together, and that's like something that like bothers you in a way that like you have to get off the internet. Like,
is that specific type of influencers? Like, is that music girlies or like theater girlies?
No,
or like
it's like lifestyle girlies.
It's lifestyle. They get me.
Which is interesting because lifestyle is the easiest one to bullshit.
Totally.
In terms of,
all fake.
But actually that makes sense to me because it is the easiest to present. The thing that I think I used to struggle with Instagram a lot, and I think what finally clicked for me at some point was how easy it is with the little context you were given to create a full narrative.
Yep.
And lifestyle influencing is kind of based on that premise of what can I give to paint like the most luxurious or most picturesque version of this thing. And it is building a brand. Like I get that and I respect to a certain degree.
Right.
But I don't know when it clicked for me that I was like, oh yeah, I also, maybe it was, I spent like a month doing the same type of thing and kind of curating it. And I was like, oh, I don't feel better. Like I know the picture that I'm presenting is way nicer to anyone else looking at it, but it's just, the only thing I'm really achieving is making other people feel bad.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about that. Like, but tell us what is it that like about that like feels like it gets to you?
I've been talking to Aiden, who is my fiance, about this a lot lately, which is just this idea of having this idea that's presented of having your shit together in times when I feel like perhaps I don't have my shit together, kind of reinforces that like negative feedback loop for me. And then it manifests in, well, if I have like my rice in a glass container on the counter, I have my shit together because I saw it online. Or if I have my snack drawer perfectly
Organized.
organized and filled up. And it's kind of manifested like that my whole life. So I think this is just like a little bit of like a branching off now that we have TikTok and we have social media of that. But like I've always been like, well, if I just organize my drawers at home, like I will feel like I have it together. And now this has been presented to me as like, if you wear this workout outfit and you get up at 6 a.m. and you have your water with lemon, everything's gonna be okay. Which is just such bullshit. And it's such like privilege and like just fucking like making wealth seem like it's all wealth. It's all just like you have the time and the ability. And it's all bullshit. And I know that, but there's something.
No, I get it.
Well, but
something to it.
I think you hit on it though, is like at the underline, it's like money, because money, while they say like money won't provide happiness, you see with a lot of people who are already wealthy, who become like super rich or whatever, reach that goal. It's like, oh, you didn't fix your underlying problems, so you didn't feel better. But there is a level where it's like when you are not financially stable, like where I was a year ago to where I am now in terms of stability, like my life is infinitely better because I'm just more financially stable.
Yep.
And so you see the result of money on social media where it's like, oh, because I have money and all of my
now
parts of life are easier.
Like, organize
here's my cute outfit and here is my cute rice container.
Right,
and
exactly.
Whatever. It's neat and organized and I can pay a cleaner and all those things. But the anxiety around it, I think a lot of times is, oh, I'm not at a comfort level with money and this person clearly is.
Right.
The underlying thing is
always money.
Just financial stability.
Yeah.
I'm
when
seeing
you feel
financial stability in action and I'm like, oh, I want that.
Yeah.
Or at least the appearance of it. Because a lot of it is flexing financial stability with whatever the new thing is.
When you feel like has there been a point in your life ever where you've been like, oh, I have my shit together. Like this feels good. Like, no, never. You've never been like, I have it together.
I think intellectually, I've understood that I very much have it together. I'm very lucky. I have a very beautiful fucking life, but I do have like an ongoing anxiety. And I'm sure it's some, personal insecurity. I'm like, I don't have my shit together. And it usually stems from a financial thing, but like, I know having your shit together doesn't mean anything. 1, 2, I do have my shit together. I have a beautiful life and I'm very happy to live it. But 3, there is this little
part of you that's always kind of like,
always like, but what could you be doing better? What could be better?
What does having your shit together mean to you?
Nothing. I don't. You don't know. I am chasing something that doesn't exist. This is like a never-ending like circle.
As a fellow anxious person, totally understand.
It's just like, but what am I not doing? Yeah. And I'm trying to come to a place of more gratitude and more feeling grounded. That's something I'm working on with my therapist.
Well, also like your life taking a hard pivot in the way that it has with music, that this musician lifestyle, like touring musician lifestyle, does not lend itself to any sort of stability in any way, emotionally, intellectually,
and neither
financially.
To being an actor. No, which I'm kind of like, girl, I picked the two. I picked the two big ones.
But to your credit, at least on a level of like stable long-term relationship, like with a fiance who like seems to have his shit together. Like I'm sure if we talk to Aiden, he might feel similar levels of anxiety. But like of our friend group, who seems to be one of the people who more stably just is a stable person. Yeah. So do you feel like that because you sometimes, I don't know how to phrase this question, but like, do you feel like that stability partially came out of like, I feel unstable in other parts of my life. There's something really valuable in having like a stable like tent pole, like someone like Aiden on the other side of that.
Yeah. And I think maybe I compare myself to him a little bit with that.
That's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard you say that.
Yeah. Where I'll just be like, he's very diligent. He's very driven and he's very grounded and he is very stable and he has a regular job where he has regular income. And I think
that job also makes him happy. Yeah. I mean, like he
loves it.
You would literally off yourself were you working a job like
and
that.
That's what I know. And that's what, and like I said before, I'm like, I picked acting, I picked music. Why did I do this? I'm someone who loves stability, who loves knowing what's going to come. And I picked these two things. And I guess I love art, man.
But you also, to your credit, picked him in that like he is very stable. And like, so I think that's
and
interesting.
Boy, is he holding it down for the two of us right now.
Yeah, hell yeah.
When you
shout out.
When you say you compare yourself to him, what is that?
Just like the stability aspect of it.
That
where
he
it's
loves, that he has a 9-to-5 and that's beautiful. And I'm like, every once in a while.
Yeah.
To quote Fall Out Boy, sometimes I want to quit this all and become an accountant now. but I'm no good at math. And besides, the dollar is down. And every once in a while I have that thought go through my head where I'm like, oh fuck, this is insane. I just want to work around. I went to college I started as a biochem major. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
Yes. All of my prepping for college, applying to colleges was for biochemistry.
How did you get into the theater world? Like,
Absolutely.
Because she couldn't do it. She was like, I can't do a week of my life
I
without theater. Like, I can't.
This.
I can't do it.
I remember going to my first chem lab. It was like a 350 person like lecture, and I walked in and I couldn't hear the teacher, and I was like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And because I went to Binghamton and it wasn't a BFA, it was a BA, so anyone was allowed to audition for the shows and like be in the main stage shows, and I just simultaneously was like taking my like calc class while auditioning for Rent. And then I was like, it was going well. And I had just started doing theater. I started doing theater like late high school. I was a dancer. I didn't do theater my whole life. And then it started working out. And then I went to that chem lab and I was like, this sucks. And I was like taking calc again, even though I took it in high school. And I was like, this sucks. And then I was in my like acting 101 class.
Were
and I was like, this
a
is
musician
beautiful.
though growing up? Because you have musicians in your family, right?
Yeah, my dad was a musician, my mom was a musician, and I grew up around music, and I grew up like singing, but I didn't really.
But it wasn't like a thing.
I never sang like by myself ever.
Got it.
I did an American Idol competition in 8th grade.
Slay.
Sang Evanescence.
Slay.
Won.
There you go.
But I was terrified. I hated singing by myself, and I was like, I'm never doing that. My parents were in a band. I was like, I'm never doing that. Never doing that.
Yeah, but I was going to ask you, and again, anything, we can call all this out if you want to, but I'm wondering a little bit about like your sort of sense or like need for stability coming from a lack of stability growing up, where you were like, oh, I see this, I don't like it, it makes me feel crazy. I don't want that in my life. So like when you're like, oh, you ended up in the same path as both of your parents, which you saw and were kind of like, this is crazy. I don't know if I want to do this. And then also there's something to, and I can say this because I spent a lot of time on Long Island. I think there's something about the culture of Long Island. No, I know. My boyfriend's from Long Island.
I'm on the same page.
My boyfriend's from Long Island, so I get it. But like, I think that there's something to the culture of Long Island that is somehow so close to the city, but there is something about the way that people from Long Island look at New York City as this sort of like crazy, like murder town USA.
It's also because Long Island is like
super red.
Conservative New York.
Yeah, of course.
As opposed to like
which I know your parents
New
are
York
not,
City, but just the juxtaposition of the two things, like I think all of the conservatives of New York being kind of based around Long Island or Staten Island, like the city is the place where crazy things happen, even if it's not actually that crazy if you live there.
No, but I feel like there's this sort of overwhelming idea of the city from specifically like not just Long Island, but like upstate New York as well, which is also very, very conservative. But like, do you feel at all like because you chose this path, like maybe you feel like a sense like from the outside that you're like doing something crazy and you like need to find stability? Like I know that's kind of a crazy question, but like
I left Long Island. I went to college. I did a degree in the arts, and I'm pursuing an art career, and it's different than what I grew up around because my mom did this really insane thing while raising me by herself for a while, which was be the leader of a band, of a very successful wedding band and a number of like club bands, doing that full time while also having a day job. Yeah. My mom was a physical therapist for a while, and then she moved on to like more admissions in like a rehab center, and she was doing them at the same time while raising me. So she eliminated the financial instability part of it.
Sure.
Because she wasn't pursuing a like record label or like something like that. I mean, like even she did the stable music.
Well, yeah, in music performance, I feel like outside of being mega successful, like the place where there is money is like weddings.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That makes sense.
And they were chilling for a while.
But then
they
what's so
were
funny
the
is
wedding
like
band.
you signed to a record label, like you can't do that. You won't be allowed to.
Nope.
So it's like
you're non-compete.
No, like literally, like we couldn't just like, go. Danny and I couldn't like legally go just like start another project together. Yeah. Like
it's like
wild. Like we can't do that. So it's like whatever. I thought it was an interesting question because Peter and I come from such different. Like to me, like what I've experienced of Long Island, it feels like small town USA to me.
Yeah.
Where it's like Peter and I both grew up on the West Coast in like fucking liberal ass meccas, where it was just like the culture is so different.
Yeah.
And like no one thought like my parents weren't fearful of me living in New York. Like I've been more scared in my life in both San Francisco and Seattle, like walking around in broad daylight than I've ever been in New York City.
I will say though too, I think that's partly like New York. If we had lived here in like the pre-Disney Times Square version of New York, like in pre like fuck Rudy Giuliani, but like pre the mob being cleaned up, like that, it just was a different world.
No, my parents also
was a different
my
world.
parents have a very, very interesting understanding of New York City that is like pre and post Giuliani, which is like obviously terrible guy, just to be clear, but like, you know, just a different understanding of. Did you say, well?
I said, what?
But I also think even
like,
to not give Giuliani too much credit, because that's like the mob side of it.
Right.
But also I think pre-Disney and Times Square, like revitalizing, it was like the crack haven of the world.
Absolutely.
Like, and
I think there is I know, love my mother dearly, but I know her perception of the city is
very different.
1980s.
Right, which
New
I
York
think was
City,
a really, really
which you
scary
should be
versus
scared
like
of.
even now on a like New York level, I have not seen like in the way that when I was 12 in San Francisco, people with like needles in their arm naked on the subway, or like
I mean, same.
now, even if I walk down Market Street in San Francisco, like I will like, I could find fentanyl in 30 seconds.
Oh,
like,
same with Belltown in Seattle. Like if I was I would not walk around at night in Belltown by myself or even with other people. Like I just wouldn't do it.
And it's so funny because Long Island does have these places. And we know of them, and I was told to not go there. Like it's not like it's
well,
not.
Small town USA is hit by the opioid epidemic just as bad, if not worse.
But
it's just not in your face.
Yeah, it's not in your face in the same way.
Yeah, it's
where it's I just like I think that culture is so different. Like I just think like
something else that that has been coming up a lot lately is that even just looking at like Aiden's parents had him when they were like 40.
Same.
And my mom had me when she was 31.
She also did most of it by herself, if I'm not incorrect.
So it's kind of like. There's this, my family is starting to now be like, when are you having a child? And I'm like,
oh my God, my parents are like, don't have a kid, please.
I'm 29. And I think that's a huge cultural difference as well, is that you get married, you have children far earlier.
That's why I'm saying it's small town USA to me.
Yeah. And that's beautiful.
Yeah,
like,
no, it's cool. And that's what you want to do. Fuck yeah.
Go
but
off.
like, you know, I think it is a very different, you're experiencing sort of outside.
That's generational though too, because I think even Aiden's parents like doing that at 40 would have been atypical for that time 20, 30 years ago. Like,
yeah, maybe.
But they also were like, Melinda was like in the Peace Corps. And like,
she was doing
you know what I mean? She was doing hippie shit.
Because my grandparents on my dad's side were married at like 18, 19.
Right.
And my parents were married at 24. And like even them at 24 and having their first kid at 26 was like 7 years behind my grandparents, who were like multiple kids by the time they went to college. That wasn't necessarily intended, but culturally it was much more just part of the expectation of that world than now. Also because financially people just can't support a family on a single or double salary like you could.
We were talking about this on Peter's
40, 50 years ago.
Yeah,
like now the idea of being able to sustain a kid, I think it's why like the birth rate is declining in the US. Like people don't see a path for actually being able to like have a kid and support it financially or like own a house.
My parents, had my brother at 36 and me at 39. So they're like not in any world. They're like, please don't have a kid. They also are super like career oriented people just in general. So they understand the sort of like your career is going to come first. That's also just how I am and how I've always been. But like, yeah, the thought of like having a kid even in the next 5-6 years is completely inconceivable to me. I'm like, absolutely not.
Well, especially as you guys build out touring and build into whatever the ultimate goal for the band is, trying to introduce
world domination.
Yeah, world domination. Trying to introduce kid into that is a crazy variable.
We literally just joked the other day that we're gonna have to plan our pregnancies at the same time so that we can like
make it everyone's
we're like
problem.
90% joking, but at the same time there is like 10% of my brain. And we're like, it would be so much easier if we both took maternity leave at the same time. Yeah. Instead of being like, she's gonna be gone for 6 months here, and then in a year I'm gonna be gone for 6 months.
Both of our asses on stage,
just pregnant. Just
I think that has to happen.
Kind of iconic.
I think that kind of has to happen.
Oh, same.
That's beautiful.
Little crop tops, bellies out.
My mom was rehearsing performing with me up until the moment I was born.
Oh, bitch. My mom was doing aerobics classes with me in her belly.
That tracks for both of you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And my mom was in the carrier, like at their showcases and at their rehearsals, just no headphones on, just like conked out.
Oh yeah.
And
My
that's why I
parents,
can
same.
sleep anywhere.
That's also, an interesting thing as well. It's like being a woman where like we've talked about this with some men that have kids in the music world that are like very famous, obviously. And something that one of them said, which makes me laugh so hard, is it's easier because we're rich now. Like it is literally easier for them to support a family financially, but be able to go back and forth, whatever, because they can charter a jet.
But even
to
on
go,
the
like,
even on the logistical sense of, you see this with athletes, you see this with musicians, where it's like, oh, the athlete is playing in the game and then going to the hospital to meet up with his wife or
my
child.
God.
Or like,
Dude.
like playing a show if you have a show at MSG, they're like playing the MSG show, then rushing to the hospital.
Where it's like, I'm the one
you're
in the
at
hospital. Yeah.
Like, so it is
I'm at the hospital. I can't be on the stage and then go to the hospital.
Okay, this is actually an interesting, in the same vein, how have you guys thus far dealt with, or how often do you feel like you're contending with the fact of being to just a female fronted band in a
Every
space?
day.
Yeah.
All the
Whatever
time.
you're going to say, it's every day.
All the time.
I know.
Every second of every day.
Like, they're even trying to come up with tangible examples of other female fronted bands, like in the pop punk space, is difficult. Like we talked
Paramore.
about this. Yeah, you get pushed up against the same example every time. How has that, do you feel like that limits the scope of how you imagine your own presentation, or do you think that gives you some freedom to create
great
your
question.
own image in it?
That's a great question.
I think it's like, when I think about our sound, there are a few female fronted bands that I think of, but I think of a lot of male fronted bands.
Yeah.
Like, and so when people compare us to someone like Paramore, who I love, I'm like, oh, you just don't listen to any women. And I've always wanted to think that was by happenstance, I think, or like by chance, because there's just fewer women.
Well, and very few women have been elevated
To
like
the
male
status of
bands
Paramore.
have
Absolutely.
in that space.
Yeah,
But
that was something I had to do just even entering this scene. Like the bands that I listened to were predominantly male. I really didn't, Paramore was kind of the only one for me with a female front. Just because I wasn't pursuing music for so long, I wasn't thinking about it in that way. I wasn't seeing the issue because I wasn't inside of it.
I also just like, when I listen to music, I'm way more inclined to listen to female artists just because I like the sound better. So like I listen to like, I could maybe name like 5 men that I listen to, not because I've chosen to do that, but because I just gravitate more towards female musicians just because I like the way it sounds better. So when I was like growing up listening, like I listened to Paris a lot and I listened to Flyleaf a lot. Vaguely Christian band Flyleaf.
I will say, not as much as I was raised Catholic and don't really stick to many of my religious upbringing, some Christian rock really
Rocks.
slaps.
Dude,
Switchfoot.
Switchfoot.
It's called Christian rock. Okay.
Switchfoot's playing that festival.
And-
They're on
and-
So What Fest.
But I also think it's like,
They're Christian?
Oh yeah.
but it's also one of those
sweet is
genres.
it
It's kind of
that
like
they're
country
switching?
music, where I think it's kind of like country music in the way that like if you can't really sing, you will not compete in the genre
Flyleaf is
because
like
people are just wailing.
Female fronted like pop punk is even, they're like almost like metalcore. And
they're like,
they're heavy. Vaguely Christian.
that's beautiful.
Yeah, they rock.
I had the opposite experience though. I really didn't. Regina Spektor was like my big like female artist, and like I listened to like a lot of Adele and Lady Gaga and all that. But like as far as like the pop punk scene, I was listening.
I
to
was also Avril
Well, yeah,
Lavigne was
'cause
huge for
I
me.
mean,
Avril, please.
in the pop space, there are a lot of women who have
Right.
been successful or elevated in the last 20, 30, even going back 50 years. But yeah, I feel like the pop punk space, it is still like
It's so
evolving.
fucking heavy male
And
dominated. I mean,
as we got thrown into it, I had to like educate. And I'm in.
but at the same time, like, yeah, no, I don't feel like it doesn't give me any kind of, it doesn't feel like limiting to me in any way. Cause I don't think that we box ourselves in like that. I think
don't
other
accept
people
it,
will try to box us in, but I don't have that feeling at all when we're making music, like at all.
To answer your question, I find it freeing.
Okay.
I think.
So you guys now played last year Sad Summer and now are playing this new festival tour this summer. These festival bills are almost entirely not only male fronted bands, but like male, like
Bands in full. Yeah.
male bands in full, like probably 95%
Yeah.
of total. How is that entering a space where you were the only, if not the only female fronted band, one of 3 in a bill of how many bands play at these festivals? Like 30?
Sometimes, yeah. It's hell.
Yeah, sometimes the crew people won't
Look us in the face, yeah.
Which is interesting. And we've had some lovely crew on Fall Out Boy, beautiful. Crew on other tours, beautiful. A lot of the house people we deal with sometimes at different venues will just kind of overlook us entirely and go
talk
straight
to
one of the boys in the band, which is a very interesting dynamic.
And you never want to be like, oh, it's because I'm a woman, and then you realize it's because you're a woman.
Because you're a woman. Yeah, it's hard if there's definitely like it feels like an uphill battle of like having people take you seriously, take me seriously, take us seriously, which kind of fucking sucks.
It does suck. I also think it's like there isn't a lack of women in the space. There are a lot of female fronted and bands that have women in them, or just non-men in them. It's the opportunity is what's lacking, where it's like when you think of these bands, especially like the nostalgia festivals, and like it's funny, like with When We Were Young specifically, like that was like the big criticism of When We Were Young is like there were like literally 2 women, I think, before they added us and Carr. There was like Michelle Branch and
Is she playing?
I think so, or maybe she played last year. I can't remember, but it's like
I'll throw up.
Jamie, will you look it up?
Like I will throw up.
I think I don't know. I think she played last year.
Okay.
On the bill last year, I believe there was Michelle Branch and one other female fronted.
Yeah, last year was wild.
And then this lineup came out, and I don't think that there was any women. And a lot of people's criticism of that, or a lot of people's defense of that, was, well, there's not a lot of women in the scene from this time, and it's like, okay. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, right. But I'm like, there's not a lack of people. And it's like, Nostalgia Festival is one thing. I get it, whatever. And to be fair, they did listen to the criticism and they added some women. Not enough.
Well, and it's also like you can have a Nostalgia Festival where the headliners are hitting on that nostalgia while still elevating
women,
new artists who are...
There also were women.
There also, that's what I'm saying.
That's some kind of
I'm also like,
they were there.
Yeah, like I don't know if they had added
back in the day
Hey Monday before us, or I think they added Hey Monday at the same time as us.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because Hey Monday and Cassidy Pope are huge pop punk band from that time. And to not think of them on that level, because there are smaller bands than Hey Monday on that lineup. So it's just like, we're just afterthoughts. Like it just, you don't think of us. And it's like, obviously we're very small. So it's not necessarily, I'm not saying us, but I mean like women just in the scene in general. And it's just like,
do you think that's just a lack of women in the power positions of people deciding those bills, or?
I think it's like,
I'm sure that is a huge.
I'm sure that's a huge part, but I do know that there are a lot of women that work on these festivals. Like I know like Sad Summer specifically has a lot of women, and that's a much, much smaller bill. And there are quite a few women on that bill. I think there's only like 8 bands or 9 bands that are playing, and I think 3 or 4 of them are women. So it's like, that's a pretty solid ratio there. But I mean, yeah, I think that's obviously probably a huge part of it. I also think it's just the perception of women in rock music, just on the whole. Like, I think that it's been for so long, you have like 1 or 2 people that you think of, and then they just don't get the same amount of respect. They don't get the same amount of, first of all, they don't have to get the same amount of awards, which is a huge thing. Paramore, I talked about this at one point. Paramore is the first female fronted band this year to win in the rock categories.
That's crazy.
That's because women shouldn't be angry or sound harsh.
Yeah, I think it's like,
I don't like it when women sound harsh.
The guy who's the old, I think, Boy Genius said something about this, like the head of the Recording Academy that has recently retired or has just gotten really old, I guess, said something at one point like several years ago that was like, if women want to win Grammys, they should just write better music.
Oh yeah, I remember.
So it's like, that's who you're talking about. You know what I mean? Who are making these big decisions. Yeah, no, literally. And like Phoebe Bridgers said something like rotten piss to him on the red carpet. And it's like, it is truly that, where it's like there have been women in every category. And don't get me wrong, I don't think like the height of music here is the Grammys, but I'm saying like on a engagement level or on like a elevation level, that's kind of, you know, that's a huge honor and a huge like sort of whatever. But yeah, I think it's just like that's crazy to me, where it's like you think, and because we started calling people out for their like sexual misconduct in the rock scene, specifically in like the emo scene in the last couple years, post like Me Too, I think everyone thinks they fixed it. I think everyone's like, oh, we did it. We got it. We started calling people out for like sexually assaulting people. It's like, no, there's still a huge fucking problem. All of this still exists. It's like an incredibly insidious thing. And that perception, I think is so fucking pervasive in rock music. And I do think it's the same thing that I think about people of color, where I think that rage is reserved for white men.
Yep.
And white people in general, because I think that people of color also get boxed out in the same way, not in the same way, in a more extreme way. But I think it is reserved for a very specific demographic of people.
I mean, even dating back, not even a decade, 2 decades, where that's Me Too.
My stomach was making a grumbly. I wanted everyone to hear it.
But you can go back even not a very long time with, especially like black people in music, just not being put into certain categories. It was like,
yes,
oh, you're going to be in R&B.
You're all going to be in the hip hop categories.
Yeah.
Right.
So that
it's ridiculous.
It hits a lot of different elements of the music
industry.
Music
itself is reserved for white men, to be clear. But like specifically, I think rock and punk rock and just rock in general, because especially if you're talking about the Grammys specifically, all of the rock is sort of lumped into one category. But like, you know, it is really reserved for one demographic of people. And so when the perception of that is largely that, because it's what's been shoved down people's throats, you know, is that this is the right way to do this, and this is the only way to do this. And it's really off-putting when women do it. And it's really off-putting when black people do it. And it's like, whatever, that it's like that, even if you don't actively think that perception of the thing has been literally just shoved down your throat for so long. It's been baked into what you believe rock music should be or is. And that's not to say there aren't, you know, white men in bands who I love. I'm the biggest Nirvana fan in the world. But like, you know what I mean? It's just like it's so implicit, I think. I don't think a lot of this is explicit. It's so deep in what we believe this thing should be, you know? And I think there are a lot of people doing a lot of amazing work to change that perception. And yeah, I think, and we're not even, you know, we experience it, but not in the same level that I know a lot of people experience it. We are high on the list of privilege here.
Oh my God. Yeah. That was something I wanted to bring up earlier when we were talking about it. It's just like, even the negativity online and like the negative comments and the feedback is just not that like we should be, you know, it's not a pissing contest, but just like we are so in a lucky little bubble
I
of
think
the feedback that we got.
About other bands that have, women of color or like non-binary people of color at the helm of these bands. And I think about our experience in the music industry, and I think about their experience in the music industry. And I think, when they receive like a certain type of hate or a certain type of whatever, and I think, what's the only difference here?
Yeah.
Is fucking race. And it's like, it's mind-boggling to me, but I often check myself here, which is why I think also, you know, Dani and I don't want to make our platform on like, it's hard to be women, because it is, but it's also like we exist in an extremely, extremely privileged place. We also have a lot of white men backing us and saying they're great, we like them, which for some gives us some level of legitimacy. You know what I mean? Which is hilarious, because it's like, that's the whole thing we're pressing up against, but you need it. You know what I mean?
In order to change those spaces, like having those advocates is a huge part of
absolutely doing and a lot of those guys, I think a lot of them specifically Fall Out Boy, but like a lot of those guys are doing what they can. I mean, the whole reason, I think we can say this, the whole reason that Dani and I and Car are on When We Were Young is because Pete put us on it. You know what I mean? And like, because the festival was getting backlash for their kind of exclusionary practices, which in their defense, they listened to, and we're like, how can we fix this? You know what I mean? But Pete is, I will say this, I think I've said this on the internet, Pete is a fucking champion of women in the scene.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
100%. And having those people in those positions of power that have that privilege, knowing that and understanding their sort of experience in it, and backing people that are, you know, of different demographics is important and necessary and very cool.
Pete Wentz, champion of women.
Pete Wentz, champion of women. He really is. I believe that in my heart.
He's a champion of the small artist. He's a champion of music. He's the king of music.
He's the king of music.
As my fiance lovingly refers to him exclusively as.
Okay, the last thing I wanted to ask you is about, obviously you've had a kind of meteoric upward trajectory in terms of where you started 2-ish years ago to now. Performing like a 2-person show to like playing MSG with Fall Out Boy within the course of
that wasn't us.
maybe 200 years.
That was my double.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, sorry.
Sorry, lookalikes.
Anyway.
You're confusing the women again.
Oh,
Oh
shit.
shit.
That was the other fronted band. Anyway. What is the next benchmark for you guys? Or where
Hot ones.
obviously we talked hot ones.
I'm so
Hell yeah.
serious. I'm so dead ass about that.
I always said that I would feel like we made it when our merch was in Hot Topic. Now that feels like the bar's like a little low, but I'm like,
No, I think those are
I could do that.
two really nice for each of you. I like Dani on Hot
The
Ones
energy of each of these.
and
I feel
Merch
like
and
I'm
Hot Topic.
I feel like I'm gonna kill Hot Ones.
I think about this a lot because I love hot ones.
Would you want to do Hot Ones solo or together?
No.
Together. Because it's going to be funny because Keaton puts hot sauce on everything.
Yeah.
And I can barely eat Tabasco.
Are you a person who finishes the wing or?
I'm not going to be.
Oh, bitch, I'm gonna slay because I eat so much hot food. So like I feel like I'm just gonna be like, oh god,
The dichotomy is
now
going
this
to
is
be
gonna be out
I
there and
always
I'm
worry
gonna fuck
about
it up
like being
so
on a show
bad.
like that because I really
Love
like
you, baby.
clean wings out.
Oh, I'm a
Like,
wing cleaner, but not if it's going to have that hot sauce on it.
I really like. Can you can buy the hot sauce packs, right?
yeah, you can buy 'em.
Okay, we should buy because I really want to know because
Train?
what'd you
You
say?
want to like train for it? Like it's the Olympics?
Oh yeah, let's train like it's the Olympics. That's funny content. Write that down. Jamie, write that down.
Honestly, that is kind of funny just doing Hot Ones on your own. Like
think about
that
it
is
all the
People
time.
people do that, but also like making a video like the style like you're training for the Olympics, doing hot ones.
I'm gonna
I think
have
that's
to.
so funny.
But that's not really music related. That's just kind of like
no, but it is
personally-
music related in a sense of that is the type of opportunity the music could allow you to have.
Absolutely.
And so I think it is a cool
I really
benchmark.
want our merch and Hot Topic. I really do. I just think that would be so cool.
It's a natural pairing.
Yeah. Well, just like going into Hot Topic was like such a like and getting like being like, oh, I remember when Hot Topic put the 1975's merch in there after the self-titled. And I was like, oh my God, we can finally
They
buy
made it.
1975 merch at Hot
They
Topic.
made it.
Like it's an easy point of like knowing where the scene is at, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, like they just put the home team in Hot Topic.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
and I'm
cool.
like, that's sick. I saw them at like Gramercy Theater like last year.
Realistically, it's having income. Leaving my day job is the benchmark for
Okay,
me.
so that's the short-term benchmark, long-term benchmark.
Is
Hot
doing
Ones.
this. Yes. Short term income, long term hot ones.
Okay, I'm with it.
Yeah, just being able to do it full time.
Okay.
Yeah,
think
being able to
is-
quit my job
is
is the
gonna be the
benchmark for me
big-
as well. Yeah.
Love my job. So grateful for it. Please don't fire me. That'll be the big one.
Yeah, I think for me too.
What do you think that would require on a financial? How much would you need to be seeing week to week from your music career to allow you to feel
God,
comfortable
this-
quitting your job?
I'm living on $400 a week right now.
Wow.
Anything more than
I
that.
think probably about me too. Yeah, I'm doing
Any
that.
number higher than that would be what I will make it
And
fucking
we do like
work.
little things here and there that bring in like we do our Depop that brings in like
Depop.
shop our Depop that brings us like little increments of money here and there.
But so even if, say tomorrow you have a song blows up, suddenly you're each clearing $500 a week from streaming. That's enough to
If
say,
it's guaranteed, if it's steady, yeah.
If it's steady? Okay.
Totally same.
What if you hit a lump sum on a level of you have a
There it
merch?
is.
No, but randomly you have a merch drop that goes viral. Suddenly you do $200,000 in sales, which from a random merch drop, very feasible.
$200,000 total, or each of us.
Let's say each.
Each of us. Oh, I'm quitting my job, bitch.
I don't know if I am
Really?
because it's a lump sum.
I respect that.
Lump sums go away.
That's so true. Well, I would have somebody look at it and be like, "What should I do with this? You know, should I invest it? Should
Yeah, I don't feel I'll
But
make
I
any.
think if I made 200 grand, I would probably put money down on a fucking property. I don't know, like,
Well, how much?
This bitch is buying property.
Yeah.
dude, I think it's the best thing to. If you have you don't know when the next lump sum is coming. When are you gonna have 200 grand in the bank?
Well, the real question though is that because with 200 grand, you might be able to get like a studio and a co-op in New York, but you're not getting.
I'm not saying I'm buying in New York.
So, okay, so that's the question though. Are you buying?
hell
in,
are you
like,
going?
You're getting
I'm
like
saying-
your
I'm
Louisiana
saying-
home, and
Maybe I'm talking about like because if I stay in New York, right, and I have an investment property somewhere else, that's going to clear me so much. It depends.
I mean,
where
if
you
you're
buy.
paying it, different question for when you have a lot of money. I understand it's a lot of hypotheticals you're dealing with, but
I'm saying I'm going to put money down on property as soon as I possibly can.
I'm going to pay off my student loan as soon as I possibly can. It looms over me every day.
I think if I didn't
Like
put
the
money
sword
down
of
on property,
Damocles.
my dad would probably kill me. I think he would be like, the first thing you need
well,
to do is
the
buy
reason
property.
I go to that question is just the idea of like, that could pay for a down payment in New York, but then it's like, oh, I have
I'm paying off whatever.
15
But
years,
also-
30 years of payments.
But also
like,
owning something in New York is going to only go up in value, likely, depending on where you buy. But like,
yeah, but again, that's if you could pay it off. Like that's
Right.
if you get a lump sum big enough to pay something off in New York, I'm like, send it.
send it. Yeah.
But that's like the crazy reality of like even getting
No, I
200
know,
grand
I
is
know.
not,
It's not enough.
it's not
But,
going
like,
to pay off almost anything other than like a studio and a co-op,
right.
which sucks. But
Right. I don't want to have that. But at the same time, like, you can buy a townhouse in New Orleans, Louisiana for about 250 grand.
You're obsessed.
I love it. But also, I'm like, that's an investment property. You could Airbnb that motherfucker out and you'd be making fucking passive income for years. So I'm like,
hurricane
maybe
insurance.
Hurricane insurance,
I can't
too.
think
I wonder.
far.
Again, all
but I'm-
hypotheticals.
Yeah,
but-
all hypothetical. But you know, I would want to do something with it. Or if it was just like a really good investment somewhere, I would want to make it make money on it.
So, but what we can gather from this lump sum, probably you quit your job. You probably don't. On a level of, but even like $500 a week is enough, you think, to quit day job at this point?
because you're gonna make more, technically making more money.
But
Steadily.
even I get that instinct, but like, 500 is not a huge bar to clear on the internet. Like that, you can make really quickly on the trajectory you guys have, even on follower level. Like, you guys might be able to make that on Instagram now.
I need someone to spell that out for me and how to make that happen.
That's part of why this podcast exists. It's literally like, how many followers do you guys have on Instagram?
112,000
Yeah, you 100% could do that on Instagram now with brands.
with brands.
Yeah,
Nice.
doing just brand deals, you do one a week, you could make that much money to quit your jobs. With
I'm
112K
ascending.
followers?
I am ascending right now.
Yeah, but that's why I ask. Like, I always think it's interesting to spell those things out.
Also, to be clear, I'm working 2 days a week. Like, it's not like
Right.
it's not taking up too much of my life
was-
where I'm like, fuck.
That's
you know
what I was
mean?
gonna
I'm
say,
not
like,
swamped.
I'm working 3 days a week. My job is so easy and so flexible. I'm like, even if we suddenly started making money on brand deals, I don't think I would leave because I would have too much free time at that
it's,
point.
yeah, I already have too much free time. But it's also hard because with a band's account, you don't want to overload it with brand deals. You know, we can't really do. I would feel uncomfortable posting once a week with a brand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you could, with 112,000 followers, do one big thing a month and still probably clear that 500 a week. Like
Who
Instagram,
wants us?
burped.
Instagram,
Let
you
us
can
know.
make like $2,000, like 500 to $2,000 with 10,000 followers, like on a single post. When you scale it to
Show
100,000,
me the money.
yeah, we gotta get you in contact. with somebody who
Show
does that.
me the money. I need to get myself verified is what I need to do.
I know. I can't believe that.
Instagram
our
doesn't
account-
want to
our
tell me I'm real.
Daisy Grenade account still won't get verified for some reason.
You would think you guys have enough natural news coverage to do that now.
Yeah, they can't. There's like something with like because when you verify like your personal account, you send like your driver's license, your ID, being like this is me. With the DG account, it's like very hard. It's hard to verify that we own it.
Yeah.
But like I sent them our tax docs,
Right.
and they were like,
Also on my
"No,
personal-
we don't know if it's you."
They're reinforcing this in the personal insecurity that I do not exist. They're telling me I don't exist, and it's just me. I'm like, please, I'm real.
Like, please, Meta.
But no, I don't think I would quit my job. I think it's going to be a long time. I think we need to be like touring full time
Yeah, if we were clearing like
and be like, oh,
a good amount of money from touring, where we could have when we would get a check at the end of our tour once we profited or whatever. I think that's how a lot of people do it. Is they like that's why people have jobs while they're touring for so long, because you don't start clearing money for a long time. It's like a small business, you know. I say this all the time. It's like the overhead is so massive that like you don't start clearing money for your pocket for a long fucking time.
But that also is why I end up fixated on the numbers of it, because with what you guys have already built, even on the level of you're not making money on the road yet, or you're still taking on debt on the road, or not making money on merch, there are still avenues where that's available based on the like personas or the like fame that you're accruing on different apps. And then it comes down to like how willing you are to use those spaces to do that, because you're cultivating it for a specific purpose.
I did
But
a brand deal with a vibrator company. Loved it, by the way. Great products, Balessa. Great. They're great. But like, That was like something that I felt like, I was like, okay, this aligns with my brand. Like this feels like something I would do.
Yeah, I think I would only do it if it was
If it felt like aligned, you know? And
But
like,
do you feel more comfortable doing that because it was a personal account then?
yeah, I wouldn't
like,
do that on a Daisy account.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, unless you were down, but I don't, that's not really your brand. So it's like.
But if you were going to do a brand deal on the Daisy account, what would that need? What would you feel like aligned with the brand well enough that you could do that? Do you feel like you've defined that?
Athletic Brew sent us like 5 cases of NA beer because she doesn't really drink. At the time I wasn't drinking like really at all. I would totally do a brand deal with Athletic Brew or like a clothing company or whatever. But the way that clothing companies do it a lot now is they'll just send us pieces for free and like not really ask for much too. They're not like do a post.
Oh, no,
you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I feel like a lot of the clothing model is we're just going to send it to a bunch of people and
when
hope
you wear
someone
it,
posts. And
yeah, like I
it.
just found out that I'm on the website for that company clothing.
Are you really?
Yeah. I'm like on the website for the horticulture t-shirt because they have so many pictures of me in it that I'm like the thing when it's like you click on the link and it's like me wearing it, which is sick. But and they sent me a bunch of stuff for free, which are great products and I love that company. But they're not in a place. I don't think they're in a place financially to be like, hey, we'll pay you $2,000 to post.
But that's why you kind of. I think you
got to kind of shoot high.
The nexus point is figuring out like what aligns with our brand and what we want to do and who has the resources to
do it for us. Yeah.
Like,
and do it with us.
Yeah. Cause I have a friend who most of her brand deal stuff is like, she's pitching a certain kind of luxury. And so she's doing
Lauren.
Yeah. And she's doing brands with like Sony or Lego or like these things where it's like, this means enough within that space.
Fat paycheck.
And but it's also like, has figured out which of those things.
Like, to be fair, like 1 million followers, I think.
On Instagram, probably not more than 100K.
Really?
Yeah.
She's got 1 million on TikTok.
Lego?
Right?
Yeah.
She does like, she's like a Twitch streamer. So that's like her brand is like,
Lego's
she does like
sick.
Sony and Lego and like shit like that.
Gonna be a guest on the show. And she'll talk about those numbers. But like that also is someone like who she has a representative that is specifically
does her brand
those
deals.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Like, but to her credit, before she had someone doing that, she was just pitching herself to brands. Like when she moved, she emailed a bunch of like mattress companies being like, hey, I'm going to do I'm moving vlog. Will you send me a mattress so I can outfit my
That's iconic. I'm going to do that when we move.
You should. And especially if you say like, I have X amount of followers on this account. I have 100,000 on my band account and I'll put it on my story. Like they will invest $300 in that.
Ask
that is like,
and ye shall receive.
Growth. And like 300 is like the product level. That's so baseline.
Asking for things also is like, it's hard to put yourself in that position, but like now that we have a pretty solid, and we have 100,000 on TikTok too, which I think TikTok is obviously so much more saturated with followers and stuff. Like you can get more followers faster. But anything I think over 100K on TikTok, that's what I think of like a big account. Where I'm like, okay, that's 100,000.
I think the social proof on TikTok is more about how many views you're getting consistently, because the thing about TikTok is followers just don't matter as much.
Really
like it is. Right. Like you could have
Instagram, that's so the
you
opposite.
could have 100, it is exactly the opposite. Like on TikTok, you could have 100 views or 100 followers and get 2 million views, or 100,000 followers and get 200 views.
Right.
It really just comes down to like how much the content bangs.
Yeah.
And like Instagram is much more follower based, like, and then for really viral stuff, it'll be like shareability so that people who don't follow you see it, or it ends up on their For You page thing.
Yeah.
But your baseline, your first 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 likes are going to come from your followers. So that is why even having 10,000 dedicated followers on Instagram can be really valuable, or 100,000. Like I think you should figure out what those financial benchmarks are for actually quitting, because the numbers you're giving me are really achievable within what you have set up already, infrastructure-wise.
I love to hear it.
I
just love to hear it. You're saying great stuff to me right now.
Maybe that's just our next venture. It's just trying to reach out to brands to be like,
what's the worst thing to do? Say no?
Yeah, exactly. Paid us $1,000.
You suck. Quit.
Yeah.
You imagine we're like, would you send us a t-shirt?
Fuck off. Yeah.
I mean, the worst thing people can say though is no, or not respond.
Right.
Like that's why I think
which I prefer ultimately.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, I think it is achievable. It's just just about what we're willing to kind of do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not in it for the money. I'm not in it for the money.
I'm in it for the money. I'm just kidding.
I'm in it a little bit. But like, I'm in it for the art. If the money comes, that's beautiful.
I'm absolutely not. If I was in it for the money, I would have quit a long
we wouldn't be here.
If you want to make money, music is not your industry, girl. It's not your industry. You better love it.
Love it.
Yeah, for real.
Well, on that note, Do we have anything else we want to hit? I think
Yeah, I feel good.
Did I answer a single question you asked today?
Yeah, at least one.
That's good. Listen, that was my goal.
You did great.
You did great.
I answered one.
Excellent. And that concludes episode 2 of Glass Slipping. Thank you for listening or watching for our friends on YouTube. If you have made it this far, it means you were either a fan of the show or fast asleep. So either way, we appreciate you. Sleep tight if that's your bag. But if you are a fan, please consider following us. You can subscribe on YouTube, follow on Instagram, TikTok, all the places you get your podcast. We are a brand new show and we are trying to grow. So we would appreciate if you came along that journey with us. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.